Destiny.
Not so sure about Ryan anymore. I think one of his channels is gone, at least, after that thing.
But I mean, yeah, they are still on the they're on the radar, so to speak. Although I have my doubts as to whether they really want to get big or not, and here's the reason why. I'll tell you why.
Go on.
I don't think Bernard Pullman wants to get too big, because if he gets too big, he'll get more attention. If he gets more attention, he could actually possibly get in trouble with real authorities.
That's very true.
Will he have to pay taxes?
I mean, so it's in his best interest, in the interest of himself and his family, to stay about where he's at, and to not really get too much bigger. Because if he starts creating waves, that's when the law enforcement, and that's when they start looking at you. They start taking more notice. When people start complaining a lot more about this group, that's when you draw the kind of attention that he does not want.
Understandable. I've heard, I'm not sure how true this is, but I've heard rumours of it that people have contacted the South African authorities.
Yeah, they have. Yeah.
And, it's been a thing where people have only come across the information on YouTube. They haven't realised the size of it. They looked into it and they've realised the true nature of it, and they've contacted the authorities. And I can understand they wouldn't want to get too big in that regard then, because they've got a stable, if relatively small, number of followers. And obviously they're like cash cows. They're going to be forced to have to go to work or beg off friends to get donations and money for their course or courses as time goes on.
Bernard Pullman's, fine, because he's at the center of the scam. All the money's flowing towards him. He ain't got a problem with really getting too much bigger. I mean, I'm sure he'd want more money, but at what cost?
True.
Also, he'd have to start backing his weird claims of saving humanity up.
Yeah.
He'd have to hire people, like economic experts and scientists and doctors and people who know stuff. Not someone who was like, I took one class on economy, so now I'm an expert. I mean, despite the fact that I slept throughout the half of the thing and did self-forgiveness on my notebook instead.
Yeah.
Well, they're not very attentive people, really. All this, let's go back to school and study stuff, we do not really have the ability to comprehend thing. I don't think that's a good idea.
I think, obviously if Destiny is settled where it is, and Destiny stole a lot of their ideas from like Zeitgeist and the New Age movement and other various beliefs, it's obviously going to be very possible that someone's going to pick up the idea and run with it. That someone's going to pick up the ideas of the Destiny cult and perhaps eventually weave it into their own beliefs, but with proper economics, And that might...
It is possible, yeah. I agree. That is a danger.
Be interesting if it does.
But the thing is, we now have, because of Destiny and these other groups, we have a record. We have something we can go back to and look at to compare it to something, anything that new that pops its head out.
Yeah.
We can go, oh, okay. Well, we know what kind of, we know what color horse you are.
Yeah.
Because we've seen it before.
Yeah, that's true. I suppose it's, that's the real, the good reason to oppose many of these small and sometimes dangerous cults. It helps people to know the difference between a dangerous group and a non-dangerous group. And
the non-dangerous usually don't want as much money.
Yeah, it's like, give a little bit, but you don't have to give too much. We just need to, do this. Here's accountability. Here's how much money we made last year, and it went into these projects to, try and do something. I'm not entirely comfortable with all of that, but at least it's not like with the second, Destiny Farm, which obviously,
Oh, yeah.
that whole thing there where everyone was basically funneling huge amounts of donations, and then, Destiny just remained silent about it. No
when
talk
you ask
of...
them about it, they can never tell. They just stop talking to you instantly. It's the best way to get rid of an annoying Destonian, really. Just say, hey, what's with the second farm? Have you been there? Just gotta go. Embarrassed.
I don't know. In
So
fact,
many weird people.
it kind of reminds me of there's another like YouTuber who's a bit of an attention bag, and basically he's known as Brian is Yahweh. His name's Brian Marshall, and he claims to be Jesus reincarnated on Earth, and he's basically
this is a popular thing to do.
It is.
So he's married to that other woman?
Not, you'd think so, wouldn't you? You would think so.
Maybe we should get him hooked up.
Yeah. Oh, we'll get on like a house on fire, literally. Yeah. He keeps on spinning these ideas of Nibiru 2012, same sort of, things as ever, really. They just keep on, spinning all these popular ideas which get lots of views. And he lives in a hotel. In fact, it's an apartment in a hotel complex. And he gets it all paid for by telling people wild stories about the Bible, about, the God of the Old Testament, Yahweh, and all this kind of stuff, along with Nibiru 2012, talk of like aliens, end of the world, and his own divinity. He's able to spin the idea and able to live in relative luxury by basically being a scam artist bullshitter.
Yeah.
So it works out quite well.
It's quite easy when you don't have much of a conscience.
Yeah, absolutely. Although the really disturbing thing about that guy, he goes a bit further than any of the cult leaders I've, spoken about or heard of on YouTube. He actually went over to Papua New Guinea, because he lives in Australia. He went over to Papua New Guinea, and he was selling AIDS cures. Yeah. And he was trying to get people to take these AIDS cures, and they took it on because they've got practically no infrastructure in Papua New Guinea. It's like really, very, very tribal, very extremely undeveloped, and he was able to go out there and give people... Have you heard of this? I can't remember which one it was. I think it was the colloidal silver drinking water. This thing which conspiracy theorists go on about, and they say, drinking colloidal silver treated water will actually help you to, break down disease and things like that. And he's selling this as miracle water to some of the poorest people in the world.
Does it get rid of the fluoridation?
Yeah. And apparently he said that along with magnets and electrodes placed on the skin, electrified the blood and magnetised it, and then the water helps to cure the AIDS, HIV, leukemia, and a variety of other conditions. So
if he said he was Jesus, right?
Yeah.
Well, if he's Jesus, he doesn't need that crap.
He could just wave his hand.
He can turn water into wine.
Yeah. So why would he need to get quack medicine, take it over to Papua New Guinea? He could just fly over the place, wave his hand, and say no more AIDS for the whole planet if he wanted. But obviously he went over there to make money, and he's been banned from that country, and he's also been banned from Fiji, and the Australian authorities are keeping a very close eye on him at the moment, in case he does actually try and do it again. So he's basically he's on the very edge of serious legal ramifications, but he's been smart enough to do it where there isn't any real ability to actually do much more than simply ban him from going there. So
and that's how these people operate, is they float right just beneath the radar.
Yeah.
So that they don't have to worry about getting into trouble. I mean, that's how con artists work. That they know about where the line is, and they don't cross it.
Very true. I think he came very close though, because Australian news, I think it was perhaps something like Australian Broadcasting Corporation or something. They did a news story, and they actually had footage of him over in Papua New Guinea and other things. And for a brief while, it seemed like he was going to be actually arrested, put on trial, or possibly extradited or something. But I think he simply managed to, well, weasel out of it. Managed to, stay, briefly above the radar, but now he's able to, like, vaguely remain below it. Although, thankfully, from what I've seen, his YouTube channels, which was his main, source of, obviously still is, income and everything else, tension. Most of his channels in the past, the big channels, have been shut down as being a scam. Very much like the Desteni main channels did as well.